I'm Rob Shields, and this is Peace Talks, the podcast that covers everything to do with competitive jigsaw puzzling. Hannah Doyle really didn't think about jigsaw puzzling much until a fateful night where she was looking for something to do. Suddenly, she was obsessed, and within a year, she was finishing second in the California State competition, live streaming puzzles on Twitch, and gearing up for U.S. Nationals and Worlds. Hannah Doyle, thank you for joining Peace Talks.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It is absolutely my pleasure. I'm looking forward to this conversation, but let's begin at the beginning. What is your first puzzle memory?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me this because you ask everyone.
I ask everybody.
And I really tried so hard to think of a good answer.
You knew what the homework assignment was and you still weren't able to come up with anything?
Yeah, it was like the only question I knew you were going to ask for sure. And I really struggled to come up with, like an actual early memory. So the earliest like specific puzzle that I can remember is really not that long ago. It was probably, it had to be like 2020 because I was living with my mom and my stepdad. I went back to live with them during COVID because I was in college at the time, but we all got sent home. And I remember we did a few puzzles during that time. One of them that I remember was a 1,000-piece Starry Night puzzle. And I remember it because we had to give up because it was too hard. So it's probably that. But I know that I did puzzles before that. It's just that I don't think they really stick out to me in my mind.
So it wasn't an obsession from the very beginning.
Yeah, like I knew we had a few puzzles in the closet that we would do, during like the holiday break, but it was never an obsession until like a couple years ago for me.
So tell me about that. What flipped that switch?
Okay, so what started it was this fateful New Year's Eve. I happened to be alone, which I realized the first person I told this to, I realized it sounded sad when I said that.
My notes specifically say, don't make this sound sad. Because It's not just because you happen to be alone on New Year's Eve doesn't mean anything sad. So, okay. Good.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to emphasize that I was not sad. It was just that with everyone's travel schedules, it happened that a lot of the people closest to me were out of town. So I was by myself. I was just kind of looking for things to do. I remember I made myself a sort of elaborate dinner. I was just sitting on the couch. And then I remembered that I had a puzzle up in my closet that I had never done. It was a 1,000-piece, I believe, buffalo puzzle of rainbow butterflies. Mm. And I felt like that would be the perfect way to spend the rest of the evening. I knew it would take me a lot of time. It would keep me busy. So I did that. And I don't know if there was anything super different about that puzzle experience. I don't think there was, but I think it reminded me that I enjoyed puzzles and kind of brought the idea back up. And it ended up being convenient timing because a few weeks later, there was a puzzle swap at my local library. So I went to that, and that was kind of the gateway where I found out that people swap puzzles. There are Facebook groups for doing it. There are even puzzle libraries in people's front yard that I could go to. So once I had access to a bunch of puzzles, it kind of just snowballed from there.
So was the puzzle swap at the library something you intentionally went to? Were you you were like, hey, this was fun. Where can I get another puzzle?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. I think my boyfriend found it online at the time because I had, I was like, oh, I enjoyed that puzzle. We had watched Karen Puzzles videos together before any of the actual puzzling started. So I guess we must have talked about it. I think he found it, and it was so close by and convenient that it just felt like, yeah, we should definitely go. And then everything from there has been just kind of stepping stones to the next part of the obsession, I guess.
So you went to your first swap. This was the gateway drug into community and puzzles. And so does your interest ramp up immediately, or is this sort of over time? Like, are you going from having done one puzzle a year-ish to doing like several puzzles a day, like immediately?
Yeah. So something that was critical was I found out there was a puzzle library like a 10-minute drive away from me. So it was like one of those little free libraries that people have in their front yard, but specifically for puzzles. And the fact that I could go there and I didn't need to interact with anyone and I could just take whatever I wanted was like really the perfect setup. And I could take multiple, I didn't have to arrange, one specific swap of one puzzle. So I found out about that pretty much right after the initial swap. And then I was going there like multiple times a week for, many months. It was my only source.
And they had enough turnover that you kept.
Yeah, they had a ton. So this library is like really well stocked. And also there must be other people who are using it really regularly. So I would go weeknights, like during the week, and there would be new puzzles there. So there must be some other people in my area who are using it really frequently, but we never crossed paths, like
sort of by design.
Yeah, exactly. But they were really keeping me afloat for a long, long time.
Have you ever met the person whose puzzle library this is?
I have. I met her pretty early on, so I don't know if I communicated like how much value she had brought to my life. But I did meet her once, and I did try to say like, thank you so much. Like, this is great. And it was funny because she was coming out with her daughter to look over the selection and take some in. So they, as they should, they get first dibs on what people bring.
Have you had this kind of obsession with anything else? Was this just a specific thing, or is this like a Hannah Doyle typical approach to things? Like,
okay, I've never been quite as obsessed with anything as I am with puzzles now. Actually, I used to do a lot of embroidery, like hand embroidery. And the draw for me for that hobby was that it was something that kept my hands occupied. I could do it while I was like listening to a TV show or a podcast or something. And I think I liked things that were kind of tedious like that. So I would do embroidery. I would also get like arts and crafts kits. I think this is sort of a common overlap. Like I would do the diamond painting stuff,
Yep.
And then I would do like paint by numbers. Like I would do that sort of activity. So I think at the beginning, because I was just doing casual puzzling for, like a while, I wasn't speed puzzling. I think it was functioning as like a kind of stress reliever, like almost like a meditative kind of practice where every day after I would come home from working, I could do a puzzle. I could put on like some show, and it was super relaxing. It would take all my focus, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I imagine that maybe puzzling, aside from some of these other hobbies, like there's a little bit more going on in terms of problem solving in sort of real time. So when you talk about taking your brain, maybe it takes more holistically your brain than some of these things.
Yeah, I think that's a part of like why it lasted so much longer than all the other things. And also there's a sense of novelty with every puzzle. So, I knew that I could get a new puzzle at the puzzle library. And it was also kind of a mystery what I would get. Like I didn't get to choose, and that was kind of exciting.
That's setting you up for competitive puzzling really well.
It's true.
You never know what you're going to get.
I do think about that. I think that my time with the puzzle library did probably prepare me well, because I would take, whatever I could get. And sometimes I had to do puzzles that I would not have chosen for myself. But I think maybe it gave me more versatility as a puzzler or something.
So at what point did you shift gears and be like, I'm enjoying doing this. What if I tried to go faster?
So we had watched Karen's video about worlds like a couple of years before I started doing puzzles myself. So I was aware of speed puzzling for a long time. And then in the like several months that I was doing all that casual puzzling, I was getting kind of more and more into following speed puzzling. So I watched the Nationals live where Alice won.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was just keeping up online. I was aware of it. And then I think in the back of my mind, I felt like I would always eventually get to speed puzzling. Like like it was just a matter of when. You know?
It's fate. It was inevitably drawing you closer and closer.
I was like, let me just wait until the time is right.
Like we all know all know we're going there. We'll get there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I was like, I know I'm going to time myself one day just, out of curiosity. Like I knew that would happen. And so it happened. So we were on like a little trip down to LA and we went to, well, of course, so we were on our vacation and I had to Google like puzzle store just in case there was an opportunity for me to buy a puzzle. And there was a puzzle store. I think it was in like downtown Santa Monica because we were just walking around. We went in the puzzle store and they had New York Postcard, the like classic, Ravensburger. And I remember seeing that in the Karen video that it was at Worlds. I was like, oh, this is a speed puzzle. Like, I should buy this one and I can try timing it. So yeah, I bought that. And then we took it back to the hotel we were staying at. And then I did my first speed puzzle in the hotel room.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where it all started.
And how did it go, that first one?
It was good. The lighting was pretty subpar. The table was pretty subpar.
Right?
Yeah, it was like a coffee table, like in the hotel room. So I did it. It took, I think, an hour and 9 minutes. I remember feeling like very chaotic because I started the timer and I felt like, okay, I need to be physically moving like really fast because that must be how you speed puzzle. And so I knew that you had to flip over all the pieces. I didn't at that point know that like doing the edge was a speed puzzling strategy. So I didn't do the edge. I kind of tried to go right into it. But I remember feeling very like disorganized. And I think that made me feel like there must be a lot of room to grow because I'm like, okay, I can definitely like strategize a little more and improve on that kind of feeling.
It's funny because my observation of your style now is very non-frenetic. Like I feel like your moves are they're not slow, but they're not like your hands aren't going a mile a minute, but everything is very exact, very specific. Watching you puzzle it's like, I'm going to go, oh, here's a piece. I'm going to put that exactly where it goes. Oh, here's another piece. And I'm going to put it exactly where it goes. So it's not like you're flying necessarily. I mean, you're going fast, but it's very much like every piece just goes exactly in the right place. And if you only have to touch it that one time, it all is going to go together really fast.
Yeah, I think I do tend to move on the slower side. I think it's because if I move fast, it like tells my brain that I'm really stressed and frantic, and then that'll kind of send things off the rails. But I'm glad that it appears like calm and deliberate.
It like does, yeah. And so I've been trying the Hannah Doyle method on my own puzzling, and I'm like, nope, I'm not good enough for this. Like my problem is I have no ability to do any kind of accuracy. So like with like you're able to spot the pieces, and determine where they go in the puzzle fairly straightforwardly. And I'm like, it's all noise and chaos to me. So I'm still in the move fast and frenetically sort of mode.
Yeah, which definitely works, like for a lot of people.
Everybody embraces their own style.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when did you decide you wanted to do an actual competition?
I decided the same day I did the first speed puzzle.
You're like, this is chaotic and terrible, and I think I can master it.
Yeah, I actually fact-checked this last night because I was pretty sure this was the case. But yeah, I did the speed puzzle. It was like early August when we were in LA, and I checked in my email and I have the receipt from registering for California States like the same exact day.
You went straight to States. You're not like, I'm going to do any virtual online thing. I'm not going to do one in a library.
Exactly.
Where is the most competitive thing? And you did the postcard puzzle in a little over an hour, which is substantially faster than I can do it. But you must have been looking up times. Like, did you feel like, okay, well, that's good enough for me to be hanging out at a state competition?
Yeah, I just knew I enjoyed it. And I looked up the state competition and it was like 3 months out. And so I was like, okay, I can probably improve at least a certain amount by then. And even if I didn't, I still enjoyed that experience that I just had. And I still think it would be fun. And also it happened to be just very convenient for me to get to. Like if I had to travel, then I probably wouldn't have signed up, but it was at a convenient location for me, like at a convenient time. So that was kind of the thinking, but I definitely knew that I wanted to practice a lot, in between August and November.
I don't want to foreshadow this too much, but what happens in the California state competition versus what you just described as where you were in August? So the state competition's in like November, right? Mm-hmm. So I really need you to tell me what that road looked like. Like, it's not a lot of time. Give me some details.
Okay. So we got home from the trip. I started making sure that I got 500-piece puzzles from the puzzle library.
No more messing around with small ones or big ones.
Exactly. I gotta focus. I also think I told my parents, and they got me a boardwalk because we knew that it was going to be a boardwalk. Okay, I'm trying to think like what the training actually looked like.
Yeah, so I'm expecting at the time, a montage with some music over the top of it.
Yeah. At the time, I lived in a studio apartment, and it was like small even for a studio. And so I had like my bed, and then next to my bed was a coffee table. It's basically like it was the size of a finished 1,000-piece Ravensburger puzzle.
Wow. Okay. Not a lot of space.
Yeah, it was really space restricted. And it was a coffee table and then a couch, like a small couch. So that was like my training setup. And the coffee table is too low. So I would actually kneel on the ground, like in front of the coffee table when I did the puzzles, so that it was at the right height, like relative to my waist. And I would film a time lapse of every puzzle that I did. We rigged up this filming setup where we would put a stack of puzzle boxes in like shoe boxes at the front of the table, like off the table at the front. And then we taped a spatula to the top of that stack. And then my phone would sit on the spatula.
Who's we in this case?
Oh, me and Jacob, my boyfriend. He was helping me out.
All right. So he's along for this ride too.
Yeah. And very supportive.
Okay.
And, so I had the filming set up, and I would film a time lapse of every puzzle that I did. I think like I would do the puzzle, I would upload it to myspeedpuzzling.com and see kind of where I landed. I would try to mentally compare that to like how I felt about the puzzle. But I don't know if I was really doing any specific thinking about puzzling strategy. Mm-hmm. Like I was mostly just trying to get as many points of reference as I could for what speed puzzling even felt like, and try to build some sort of intuition for what I should be doing. That was kind of the idea at that point.
And I want to sort of circle back to this again. Like, have you done anything like this with any other part of your life? Like, I'm guessing that diamond painting is not have the same level of like fully engaged optimization. Nobody's speed painting as far as I know.
Yeah, no, this is a unique amount of commitment, I think.
Did your friends and family ask if you're okay?
Yeah, I remember like I I was like FaceTiming my dad and my stepmom, just kind of talking about what I was up to. And usually I would say, like, oh, lately I've been doing, diamond painting, or I've been doing paint by numbers, but it would kind of fade away after, a certain number of months. Like I would have an interest and then it would go away. So I remember telling them like, oh, I'm into puzzles right now. I'm just going to keep going for as long as it lasts. Like we'll just see, how long
see if
it
this
lasts.
goes anywhere.
And then it just, yeah. And then it just kept getting deeper and deeper and continues to, really.
My notes here are like Hannah's whirlwind year, because I feel like yeah. The California competition just kicks off a whole bunch of things that I suspect that sitting at home on January or December 31st, looking to be entertained person who picks up a puzzle off of the top would have no idea any of this was coming. Like if you didn't have if you didn't have a puzzle in your house at that time, think how different that year would have been.
I know. Imagine. Like, I don't know if we would have ever gotten here.
No.
Yeah.
So it was important that everybody make sure that there's a puzzle in their house or everybody else's house, just in case, because this is what happens.
Exactly. Keep it tucked away. You never know when you might need
That's
it.
That's right. So you were keeping track of your times. Were you seeing improvement?
Yeah, I think so. Like
were you looking for improvement? It seems like you would have been looking for improvement given what you've been saying.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like I would look at the names that I saw most often and try to like see where I was relative to them. It'd be really exciting if I was like, oh, I'm not usually as fast as this person, and on this one particular puzzle I was. Like I remember being excited about that kind of thing. So I was definitely trying to improve, and I had a really open mind going into California States. I was just excited to be there, like to do an in-person solo competition.
Right before you were there, did you have some expectations based on how you had been doing up to that point?
I felt like I'd improved, and the night before I stayed at my mom's house because it was closer to the venue, and I got to do a puzzle on her big table.
All the real estate.
Yeah, so then I finally got to do a speed puzzle where I wasn't like severely space constricted. And it was Boardwalk's puzzle. It's called like Bookshop, I think. It's like a bookstore.
Okay.
And I remember feeling like it went really well. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, now that I have a lot of space, like I felt like I had a good chance at doing well. I don't know what specifically I thought would happen, but I had just a general optimism, I think, going into it.
And now, before we talk about that event, you ended up with, I think you competed at least in the teams as well. So did you bring along some other people? Have you brought them into your cult? Like, how did the team come along?
Yeah, the team was some of my friends from grad school. So I convinced them to come down and do the teams with me, which we had a lot of fun doing. I also did pairs relay with Yeva, who's a Bay Area speed puzzler. I didn't know her super well before, but we got connected through this like Discord channel that's kind of local. So I did the pairs relay, I did the teams and the solos.
So tell me how the solos went.
The solos were really fun. It's like, yeah, it's one of my favorite memories from speed puzzling. I was, toward the back because I was unranked. And it worked out nicely because the way the venue was set up, the spectators couldn't really see the people in the front. They could only really see the people in the back.
Classic.
So my boyfriend was there. My mom and my stepdad were all there, like not too far from where I was. And I did the puzzle. I think I was like pretty shaky at the beginning. It was just very exciting. Like there was a lot of adrenaline. I remember hearing first place finish, which was Andrea, and I was really like not close to finishing. But I remember hearing that, like everyone clapped and stuff, and I remember thinking like, okay, I've gotten enough done that I feel pretty good. Like all I wanted was just to feel like I could do something similar to what I had been doing in practice. Like I just wanted to not panic. I felt like I had accomplished that. So then a few minutes pass, and I could start to feel like the judges congregate around me.
Oh, so they saw you. That's good.
Yeah, they saw me. It ended up being that I think it was sort of close between me and third place. So there were some judges with me and some judges over there, and they were like signaling to each other how many pieces we each had left. I've since learned this from like the video.
Oh, okay. I was like, you were watching this?
No. Yeah, okay. So basically, I finished the puzzle. Jonathan Clough said something like, "What are you doing back here? You got second." And I was like, "No way!" I was so excited, and I got to turn and look over and see my boyfriend and my family, like, so excited. They were all filming on their phones. They were all cheering. And yeah, I was pretty surprised because of how long it felt like it had been since first had finished. But yeah, it really exceeded my expectations for sure.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Andrea did destroy that puzzle. So Andrea Peng. So like there was a fair amount of time because she did an incredible job on that puzzle. But
yeah,
the fact that you were number 2, when your expectations were like, you feel like you could compete, like you could do a good job.
Yeah,
that must have been really gratifying. And also, I could see why you didn't look back at that point.
yeah. Pretty much what you said. It was just very, very exciting. I felt like, yeah, I want to just keep signing up for competitions at this point. Yeah, see where it goes, basically.
It sounds like you knew some folks going into this competition, but I imagine you sort of made a statement. California is a pretty rough place to compete, right? Because there's some really great competitors there, and hitting second in the state competition is something that's going to catch people's eyes. I assume a bunch of people came up, introduced themselves, congratulated you.
Yeah, I remember talking to Andrea after, who was really nice. We ended up doing, I think, like maybe that weekend or the weekend after, we did an EJJ together because she had a pairs one that she had signed up for and I think needed a pair for it. So that was like also super exciting for me. I was like, wow, I'm like being taken into the speed puzzling world. And yeah, I definitely met a few other people. I think I was just glad that I had some people I knew, and I felt like I would just let it unfold. You know, I knew there would be more opportunities for us all to see each other.
Had you signed up for nationals at that point?
No, I think I wasn't sure yet if I wanted to do nationals, just because I wasn't sure about all the travel.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, by the time, like, I don't know if the signups were open yet. I think they were maybe open afterwards. But by the time I had the chance to sign up, I was like pretty set on going.
Also at that same competition were Caitlin McCluskey, Sky Vandaliste, and Chloe Glickbarg.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know them coming into this competition?
No, and I didn't even meet them there.
Oh, really? Because I was wondering if this was the origin story of this is your future team, right? Girls in STEM.
Yeah. So they were there, but I didn't meet them. Caitlin was the one who eventually messaged me on Discord and said, Chloe, Sky, and I are going to be teaming together. Do you need a team? And I was like, yes, I need a team. I had a pair set up at that point. I paired with Chris Namor, but yeah, I didn't have a team, and I knew I wanted to do the team category. So, but we didn't really know each other before we met up for the first time and practiced.
And when would that have roughly been?
The first practice, I think, was like January 2025. Yeah, so we had like 4 months to prepare.
Which is not so bad.
Nationals. Yeah.
So how was it practicing with a team who's, I assume that the prior team you were with wasn't necessarily looking to be competitive, whereas the girls in STEM probably was, right? So I imagine it was a different approach to practice.
Totally, yeah. Well, so I guess my first team, which was my friends, we practiced once. We did a Magic Puzzle Company puzzle casually together. That was the extent of our practice. And yeah, there was an understanding that we were not going to like keep competing. It was like a fun activity for us. that one day. But yeah, with Girls in STEM, we met up. We went to Chloe and Sky's place, which is where we usually practice now. And they have a really extensive collection of puzzles. So they had a bunch of Ravensburgers that we ended up trying that day. And I feel like right away it went pretty well. Like, I think we just got along pretty quickly. There were definitely like some things to work out. Like, we have a time lapse, I think, of the very first puzzle we did. And we had decided that I would do the edge. But I guess I didn't have that much experience doing teams puzzles. So I built the puzzle like directly in front of me. And it was like far away from everybody else. So we had to work out some things like that. But I think even by the end of that day, like, I felt really good about our team. Like, I felt like it was going to be a lot of fun.
Now, you guys are the Girls in STEM for science, technology, engineering, math, and puzzling.
Exactly, yeah.
Does it reflect in how you guys puzzle at all, or is it entirely different?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I think it, in the sense that we debrief a lot. So I guess if you think of, the puzzle as like the experiment and the debrief as like the analysis, then you could probably think of it that way.
You guys are doing write-ups. It's like, here's
yeah, exactly. We all go away, write a report, and come back. I think it's kind of a mix. Like, we're not ever really doing anything that's super like technical, kind of like drill like or anything. But I think we still think about strategy. After a puzzle, we'll talk about how it went, what like specifically we might have wanted to change. Like, we might say, oh, I was doing this section, but really it was probably better if Sky had done this section. And that's something in the future I should say out loud. Like, we'll say things like that. But it doesn't get much more technical than that, I think.
Did you guys end up with people in specific roles?
I think naturally, yeah. So I still do the edge. I would say Caitlin and Chloe are typically the people who would sort, one or the other. Like, they would be the primary sorters. Sky is really good with large sections. And usually if there's an element in the puzzle that is large and very easily sorted out from the rest of the pile, then that's usually what we would give to Sky. Like a big block of text or like a big block of color or something. Usually I'll do the edge at the beginning and I'm kind of focused on that, and the other three of them will be kind of talking strategy at the start. And then once I'm done with the edge, I'll try to kind of join back in, get acquainted with, what everyone's doing. I'll usually ask like, oh, is there something sorted that I should do, or should I sort for myself? And that's kind of like the flow of the team.
So when you're standing up the edge, are you just really focused on that? It sounds like your entire attention goes to making that happen.
Yeah, I try to listen. I try to, eavesdrop on what they're talking about. But I end up like pretty focused on the edge. Like, I guess I try to use that time to look at the image as I'm doing the edge. That way I kind of can have some context for then when I talk to them, I know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would say I'm a little on the quieter side especially at the start. So I let them kind of plan out what we're going to do.
So sometime between the California State and sort of the beginning of the year, I think, you started doing some Twitch streaming.
Yeah.
When did that get started?
I think my first Twitch stream was toward the end of January. So it was actually around the same time that I met Girls in STEM. So I had improved on my setup a little bit since I
was
first
no longer a phone on
it.
a spatula?
Yeah, it was no longer a phone on a spatula. I had actually been given a phone clamp for my table for Christmas. So it's like it clamps to the table, and then it has an arm that comes up and holds the phone over the table. And my family had gotten it for me because they knew I filmed time lapses all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they wanted to make that easier. So I had that. And then I also had gotten one of those puzzle boards. You know, like you see the puzzle boards, they have the drawers that come out on the side.
Yes.
And they might, rotate on like a Lazy Susan kind of thing. My brother had gotten me a puzzle board so that I would rest on top of the coffee table, and that greatly expanded my puzzling area.
Oh, nice.
So I felt like I had improved the setup a lot, but because I had the phone clamp, actually, like Jacob, my boyfriend, was the one who was kind of thinking about it. He was like, "Oh, you could very easily just stream your practice. Like, you're gonna set up your phone anyway. You're gonna be filming it. Like,
just one more step.
I bet that exactly. Yeah, so simple. Like, I bet that people would watch. They would want to see." But he was encouraging me to do that for a while, and I was like, "Oh, like, I'm not really suited to be a Twitch streamer." Like, I just, I felt like I didn't have the right personality type for that. So I was like pretty resistant to it at first. Eventually I was like, okay, I'll just, I'll stream the puzzle, like, just to see how it's set up. I like got the software that you need to stream, and I set up an account. And I remember my first stream, I started streaming, I did the puzzle, and as soon as I finished the puzzle, I ended the stream. Like, I didn't say anything. There was no preamble. Like, you could not see my face. It was like just, I don't know, like 55 minutes of a puzzle with like no context or explanation. And I think Jacob was the only viewer of that stream. But once I had like set it up, then, I was like, okay, maybe I could do it again. One thing that I was excited about was that you can make a playlist and like play music in the background of your stream. And I like to think about what music I want to listen to during a puzzle. I thought it would be fun to share that with other people. So I started streaming more and more, but it was a very like gradual kind of thing where I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it or where it was going to go.
You were in the exploratory phase.
Yeah.
At some point, somebody other than Jacob show up?
Yeah. Well, okay, so before the rest of the Twitch puzzle community found me, there was like one person, there was one viewer I got on my own who was just interested in puzzling. And so usually it would be Jacob and then this one other viewer. But eventually some of the other Twitch puzzlers found me. So I remember one day I was streaming to basically no one. And then and then Gma, so I Just Love Puzzles, and Kyle, or Kyle Co. I know they came in. They came across me because on Twitch, you can set the category that you're streaming to. So I was streaming to the jigsaw puzzle category, and so they could browse, whoever was live at the time in that category. I think that's, how they found me. And they kind of brought in a bunch of the rest of the Twitch puzzle community. And that's when it like really kind of ramped up, I think.
How big is the Twitch puzzle community?
To me, it feels pretty substantial. Like I would say usually there are like 20 to 30 people watching.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like my stream or Kyle's stream. It's kind of maybe like a mid-sized community, but it's a very like loyal community. So if you go to a puzzle stream on Twitch, like it's very likely that you'll see kind of the same batch of people. Like we kind of move from stream to stream, at any given time.
I've always wanted to watch Twitch puzzle streams, but I can never find them when I wanted to be watching them. And so at some point I stumbled across some that were actually going. And so I started to see the community that shows up to those things. And it is this sort of beautiful distillation of the best parts of the regular puzzle community. Like the jigsaw puzzling community in general is pretty great. And just seeing the folks who show up to the streams, like they're the really great people of the great people, it seems like. It seems like a very
Yeah.
close-knit, affectionate,
hmm
sharing, kind group of people.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. I think that because, like I said, I didn't feel like I had the right personality to stream. I think the reason that I feel like now I'm able to stream is because of how supportive everyone is. That's very much, like you said, it's like the best parts of the jigsaw puzzle community. Like everyone is there, they want to see you feel good about the puzzle that you did, they want to cheer you on, and we all kind of watch each other in various online competitions, cheer for each other in the EJJ live stream. Yeah, I feel super, super lucky to be a part of it.
One of the things I love about watching a Twitch stream of a puzzle is that for the most part, you get to watch a single person's complete all the way through, well lit, usually the camera angle's in a good place.
Yeah.
So you get to really
Yeah.
experience what it is a person is doing. And so like watching a person like you or watching a person like Kyle, who's definitely skilled, like it's a great sort of mini masterclass that you just get to watch like a person do their thing. And I really love that capability. Like I love just going, oh, look what she's doing there. I should do that. Because normally what at least I have to rely on is, watching live streams of the competitions. And you're like, you get like 4 seconds of somebody and you get 6 more seconds of them later. So to me, it is a huge asset when it comes to learning. Do you think about it much in that respect?
I do. Yeah. I try after each puzzle, I try to give my thoughts. I don't know if people are watching, if they're watching, for entertainment, just to hang out, or if they, want to gain some puzzle related knowledge. But I try to give like a little breakdown after every puzzle. I say like, oh, I think during that puzzle, the key strategy was to switch a lot between elements that I was doing. Or in that puzzle, I started with the big blue sky, and that was like really a mistake. And then I had a bunch of pieces in the middle, and I'll say stuff like that. So I do think about that. For that reason, I like to watch other people because it's interesting to see like how their process differs from mine, or in some cases it's similar. Like I think Kyle and I have a pretty similar approach to puzzling. Like we tend to let ourselves notice pieces as we're going and kind of just, like you said earlier, like place them where they go.
Exactly.
They might like look a little more chaotic. Yeah. Hopefully I'll try my best. But yeah, and then on like, I guess the flip side, it also serves the purpose of giving me people to hang out with. When I'm streaming, I'm doing something I would have been doing no matter what. Like I would have been speed puzzling anyway, but now I get to share that with other people, and I feel like very uplifted by them, and I feel like they want me to succeed, and they have sort of a stake in the matter because maybe I can explain the like Twitch the Twitch betting system.
Yes.
Yeah, so one kind of big component of a lot of Twitch puzzle streams is the ability to bet on whether a person will beat a certain goal time. So on Twitch, there's a prediction feature where I, as the streamer, can pose a question to the audience and they can bet what's called channel points on the outcome of the question. And channel points are like free. You just accumulate them as you watch more of the stream. And then you can use them to redeem like rewards that I set up or that a streamer sets up. So before every puzzle, we all kind of look at the puzzle together, and I try to think about how fast do I think I can do this puzzle, and then I pose that as the question, and then people can bet whether or not I beat that goal time. So it kind of adds another layer to the whole thing, where in my mind, if I'm doing the puzzle, I'm like, okay, well, I want to honor all the people who believed in me.
Right.
Yeah. And so it kind of adds a little bit of something at stake. It's not the most high pressure situation, but I do like feeling like, there are people out there who are really gunning for me to make it,
Yeah, and you see them cheering in the comments, and like it seems very clear that they're cheering because they want to cheer for you, not because they're invested via having put some sort of bet on the table. But
yeah,
it's really interesting to watch that all play out. I'm fascinated by how relatively accurate folks are and how long it might take for a puzzle to get completed. Do you feel like not everybody wants to have other people watching them puzzle? So what's your relationship with that? Like, I know you said you enjoy the kind of the social parts between puzzling, but when you're puzzling, when you're doing a puzzle for time, at least the streams that I saw, you were not talking. Your head's down actually trying to knock that puzzle out. And so at that point, people are just watching.
I think my relationship with it has evolved, but toward the beginning, I was very nervous that people could see me. And it was kind of front of mind, like while I would be puzzling, if I felt like I made kind of a silly mistake, like if I tried a piece somewhere that it clearly didn't go, like in my mind, I was like, oh, did, what are they all thinking? And actually, like, I think it's helped a lot over time. Just the fact that I've now done so many streams, like there are now, I think, like hundreds of hours that I've streamed. And so over time, I've kind of learned that A, people are not often watching that closely anyway. And B, it's normal to to make a mistake or like to have, periods of time where you're kind of stuck. Like it's definitely helped with that added pressure. And I kind of feel like it might help then when I go to like the in-person competitions and they put a camera up next to me, like it's definitely still very stressful, but I think I'm having that kind of context where I'm like, I've been filming myself a lot before and like nothing bad has happened. Like, it's going to be okay if they film me, at a big competition.
In a lot of ways, it's like, I feel like your story arc here is that a lot of small things have just materialized in the best way to support your journey, I guess, right? Because like the puzzle was there's a puzzle library near you, like there was a great community, like you had a small table, so you were already practicing in small areas, like just the world is conspiring to make you a good competitive jigsaw puzzler. This just feels like another thing. Is like, you know what, I'm going to do the stream here just because, I think it could be interesting. And then a really small group of really supportive people are joining you. And now you can work through all of those. It's just one thing after another. The universe really apparently wants you to succeed here.
It's true. And, I got to just keep saying yes to the universe.
Do you watch your own videos? Like you were previously recording things so you could learn from them. Do you watch your streams as well?
I don't usually watch the actual puzzling, but sometimes I watch back the parts where I'm talking just because, it's like, it's still something that I can get self-conscious about, like it's all live. So whatever I say, it's immediately out there and archived for at least like 2 weeks. So sometimes I go back and kind of listen just to think about, how it came off. But I guess that is another area of growth that I've been thinking about. Like when I first started streaming, I felt kind of a lot of pressure to be entertaining in the moment, to not like, say anything weird. But now that I've done it for so long, of course, over that amount of time, of course, I'm going to have said weird stuff and done something embarrassing or been boring. And I think just like the sheer volume of stuff that's out there or that I've put out there is kind of comforting in a way because, like I know that people are still going to hang out, even if it's like not flashy and entertaining all the time. There's kind of like this understanding on Twitch that oftentimes people have your stream up in the background while they're doing something else, and so I've kind of learned that I'm not their sole, entertainment for the night.
Right.
I don't have to bear that responsibility completely on my shoulders. That's something that's like helped me out a lot.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you're probably not going into this wanting to build a Twitch empire.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's another thing is I feel like the size of the community is kind of perfect right now. I mean, everyone is welcome and, I'd love to talk to anyone who wants to watch, but it's really nice right now because everyone who's there, I see, pretty regularly and I get to like feel like I'm keeping up with them a little bit in the same way that they're keeping up with me. And we all kind of, we build like community inside jokes, like that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't think about it as much as like being a content creator or an influencer. It's kind of more like I'm broadcasting something that I love to do anyway, and it's just nice that people hang out too.
I tried a few times to watch your videos in the background, but the moment you start puzzling, I could not. Like, I'm just like, okay, I gotta watch this. So
I love that.
So I don't know if this speaks to me or like everybody else does this too, but like once you actually do the community and the conversation, I enjoyed it a lot, but that's something I can put on and I can, be sort of partially paying attention. But as soon as you start doing something, I'm like, I want to see all of how that works. I want to see everything. I want to see where every piece goes.
Yeah. Every so often, someone will say something in the chat that communicates that they were actually watching me while I puzzle, and it kind of surprises me sometimes. Like recently, I have a habit. I think a lot of puzzlers have this habit where I'll collect pieces in my hand. I'll, hold on to them for way too long. And someone pointed that out the other day. They were like, oh, you had that piece in your hand for a long time. And like, I was so excited when you finally found where it went. I'm like, how did you know?
Do you get like coaching on the way by from the community?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like sometimes people will give kind of like a play-by-play of what's going on so that when I go back later, I can look at the chat and see kind of the narration of what I was doing at a certain point. So it'll be like, oh, edge done at like 8:30 and then at 10, like
I did watch a recent one where I think Issa was just sort of giving time breakdowns every time you switched into something. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot of detailed data that, I mean, not surprising. Totally. Issa's a data person and thankfully so. But it was just interesting to see like all this information you have available potentially.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of just now is they were saying like at 10, like pulled all the turquoise pieces and then like a minute later, like actually moved on to something else or something like that. Right. But it is, so it can be useful in that way just to reflect a little bit more on what I'm actually doing.
The other component that I was not expecting is that I was watching something the other day and there was no, the streaming music wasn't part of the actual recording. So it was like it was a very much an ASMR sort of experience. And I was like, man, she's got some like snapping, like the sound when you put a piece in is crisp. And then somebody else mentioned that in the comments. I'm like, oh yeah, we're all feeling that. So like I could see that if you just wanted to have the puzzle the stream in the background, you could just be listening to the sound of a puzzle coming together, which is actually pretty gratifying.
Yeah, I love hearing that sound. I feel like maybe subconsciously I'm like putting the pieces in.
This one's for you.
Yeah. Like I'm applying a lot of force so that people can hear the snap. Because I like to hear it myself, I'm the same way.
How often do you stream and how do people find out when you are streaming?
I try to keep a pretty regular schedule. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific time. And usually I stream for like 2 to 3 hours, which is honestly, I guess, on the shorter side for like a Twitch stream. Like a lot of streamers stream for like, over like 6 hours, which is mind blowing to me. But for me, it's kind of like an evening wind down, weeknight activity. So that's when I normally stream. I have done some like special event streams on the weekends. I've set up some fun puzzle related races with other people. So like recently I have a friend who is a speed cuber,
Oh,
like solves Rubik's cubes fast. And actually this was his idea. We did a race where he solved 100 Rubik's cubes while I did a 500 piece puzzle. And so that was like a weekend stream recently. He beat me by a lot.
I don't even know how to compare those two things. So I don't know. Like,
yeah, he well, so he's, I mean, to me, he's pretty fast. I think he can do one cube in like he estimated 10 to 15 seconds.
mm-hmm.
And so we tried to estimate,
Okay.
you know, how long 100 would take. And then I chose a puzzle based on that time estimate. But it turns out he was a little faster than he thought. So he beat me by like 10 minutes. But yeah, Twitch just kind of offers the opportunity to like do fun stuff like that. Try to bring speed puzzling to, you know, communities that might not have seen it before. That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's super cool. So let's circle back from our long divergence off into Twitch land. You did the California state competition. You're signed up for nationals. You're practicing with your team. Are you also like working on specific things for nationals yourself?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of solo practice. So I was in the full swing of streaming. So I would stream my practice 3 days a week. And then I also would just do speed puzzles like basically every other day of the week. At the time, I had this like, I was kind of paranoid about speed puzzling as a skill. I felt like it was so fragile for some reason, and I was worried that, yeah, I don't know if this is relatable to anyone, but I was worried that if I didn't puzzle very often, like what if I woke up one day and I couldn't do it anymore. So I was
I have this superpower that I didn't know I had. It could go away at any time. Yeah, okay. This is a hero's arc sort of thing. Yeah, I get you.
Because it felt like it felt like I was doing it intuitively. Like it's a very intuitive skill, and I think because of that, I couldn't even pinpoint exactly what I was doing. And I think for that reason, I worried that, you know, if I didn't know what I was doing, then how could I possibly like maintain it? But so anyway, that's all to say that I guess I was doing like a pretty packed training schedule before nationals.
How did you feel about going to nationals? Was it any different than going to the California competition?
It was definitely different. I was really excited, but I was also pretty nervous. I wasn't sure, especially like how I would react to that kind of scenario. Like I knew that all of the really fast people that I saw online would be there. Like I didn't know how that would feel to kind of like be in the same room as all of them, know that they were going to be going so fast all around me. And I knew the cameras would be there. And I remember like you had put out the Peace Talks like kind of prediction episode. And I think, I forget where you had me, but I remember thinking like, that's absurd. Like the ranking that you had me at.
So, in retrospect, absurd because it was too low.
Well, at the time I was like, there's just absolutely no way. But I did have in mind that I wanted to do well, but I was mostly concerned about not panicking, like I said before.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I had put in so much time practicing. All I wanted to do was at least kind of feel like I could do what I did in practice, and however that turned out results-wise was going to be okay, but as long as I felt like I didn't completely like spiral, like I was going to be okay with that.
And is that because you have a history of that kind of thing? Like why was that so in your head?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, the only other like real competitive experience I had before that was I played volleyball in high school, like all through high school. And I do remember like really struggling with the mental side of volleyball. Like, I was a defensive player, and so every point starts with a serve that you as a defensive player will be receiving. And if you mess that up, like the point cannot continue, like your team has lost the point, you know. And I would really get in my head during like volleyball games. I would get really nervous about that, those kinds of like high pressure moments specifically. So I think I did have that kind of seed in the back of my mind, like, I hope I don't, you know, crumble under the pressure. I think that was like, maybe that's where it was stemming from. I don't know. I think the other part is that puzzling, like speed puzzling, is such a mental thing that like not only do you have to manage the sort of like meta mental game of getting in the right headspace, but you also need to rely on your brain to like do the actual puzzle. So I felt like that was like the most important thing, was making sure that I could keep my headspace like clear enough that I could actually execute.
Yeah, it's interesting. You got me thinking, like, it's interesting that puzzling has, like, it is so dependent on the thing that is also going to get so caught up in all of the nerves and things like that. Whereas if you were a sprinter, like a runner, your brain and your body are sort of doing different things. And you're like, it's not to say they're completely divorced, but at least if the gun goes off, like as long as you don't fall, like your body is going to do some stuff that it's used to doing. Whereas if in puzzling, like if you got a lot of noise going in your head, like that is in the way of doing the thing that you want to do. I'd never really thought about it that way.
Totally. Like, I feel like when I'm speed puzzling, I'm managing like two threads in my mind. One of them is the thread of like the actual puzzle, you know, like, oh, there's red pieces and I'm going to like do those red pieces. But then there's like another layer on top of that, which is like my overall feeling about how things are going. And, you know, if I'm in a competition, my overall feeling about the competition that I'm in, like I might be noticing like the camera is walking by me. They're clearly like walking to another table, like that sort of thing. Like,
yeah. Everything has meaning and it gives you some clues as to how you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And because I feel like I'm not as worried about being able to do the skill itself. Like, I'm not that worried about being able to do the puzzle. I'm mostly only worried about my emotional state and like whether that spirals out of control. That's like, because that has happened to me, like in a competition, and it's hard to reel it back in. You know.
Talk to me a little bit about the very first puzzle you did at Nationals, just because I want to understand, like, this is your entrance into a somewhat bigger field. So tell me what puzzle you did and how you felt about it.
Yeah, I got the red, white, and blue flowers puzzle in my preliminary round. I was really happy to see that puzzle because I felt like it was immediately clear, at least in general, what the strategy was going to be. It's like, okay, we have 3 sections. You know, you're definitely going to do the 3 sections separately.
Right.
I was grateful for that because if it were a harder puzzle, less straightforward, there's more opportunity to make a strategic error, I guess, is how I feel. So I felt like I didn't have to worry as much about my overall strategy. You know, I did the blue, I did the red, I did the white. And the feeling was just as soon as I got going and could put pieces together, I was able to relax. Like, I was nervous going in, but as soon as I knew that I could still do it at a very basic level, I could try to let go of the nerves a little bit. I ended up, I think I was like 5th, and I was really, really happy with that. Or 4th. Okay, I was 4th. And it was also funny. It was a really close finish, and I was missing a piece at the end, and I didn't even notice because it was in the white section and the table was white, so I couldn't see the hole. Yeah. And so I looked up, I was like, all happy that I finished, and Becca Taylor was standing there just kind of like looking at me, and then she started counting, like she was like 1,
Oh, no.
2.
That's the most intimidating I've ever heard anybody describe Becca Taylor, by the way.
Yeah. And so and then eventually I realized what happened, and I found the piece on the floor. I put it in. And it all worked out. But it's funny because you can kind of see on the live stream, they show me like finish and look up, and I'm kind of like, I'm like looking up, just happy, like ready to celebrate, and then I'm like, oh, and I like like crouch under the table. But yeah, that was a huge relief. Like after that round, I felt like I had at least accomplished one round of, what I wanted to do.
A proof case that you can do this.
Right, exactly. And like it was super freeing for the rest of nationals. I just felt like I was ready to just have fun after that.
Speaking of having fun, now walk me through the individual finals.
That morning, I felt pretty good, all things considered. I think I benefited a lot from the fact that other stuff had already gone well. Like we had pairs. I think we had already even done the pairs final, and my pair and I got 8th, and that like had already blown my mind. I was super excited about that. In our team's prelim, I think we got 3rd. Like I just felt like every round had already gone great, and I think I was like freed a lot by knowing that. And so I went into the individual final still nervous and like still wanting to do well, but knowing that it wasn't all riding on that, I guess.
Yeah, you'd had a lot of successes, and like there's a certain amount of chaos will insert itself from time to time. And if that happens here, then still lots of great things have already happened.
Yeah.
And importantly, you've proved that you can do this.
Yeah. And really, like, that was kind of all I wanted to do at nationals. But still, I was very nervous. At the very beginning, I was super shaky. I think I tried, like, at various points throughout the puzzle, I kept trying to stand up, and I had to keep sitting back down because my legs were so shaky.
Really? So even after you got going, that didn't wear out?
No. In fact, it got worse over the course of the puzzle because at the end, like, or even like towards the end, no one had finished still. Like, this is what people always say, but it's like, no one has finished yet. You're getting close. Like, and I was so surprised that was happening and really mentally unprepared for that specific scenario because like I would never have thought that.
Oh my God, I may win this. Yeah. That's unexpected.
Yeah, like I would absolutely not have let that thought even cross my mind before. So because of that, I was really not ready to handle like that situation. I do think it was getting to me a little bit towards the end. I remember at the end I was really like I would pick up a piece, but all I could think about was the situation that I was in and the fact that like I knew someone was standing next to me and I didn't have that many pieces left. Like it was really all I could think about. And so, yeah, I made it to the end. I was missing 2 pieces and I kind of like my brain was so fried that I couldn't even. I tried to look for them. Like I looked on the ground.
It did look like you were like, this will go. That's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
I'm like, it was kind of like, yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Because it was like, if I'm not seeing the pieces immediately upon looking at the ground, then I'm sorry, like I'm not going to find them. Because it was just too much of a rush. Like the fact that I had gotten second, like, I ended up finding them eventually. They were in the bag, which now my goal for nationals is to not leave any pieces in the bag. So, yeah, it's hard. I can't even remember like a lot of it because of how much of a rush it was, but it was really exciting. I think it really was that I went in with almost no specific expectations. I think that's what like allowed that to happen.
You were something like 4 pieces behind Kelly. Like, it was close.
Yeah, I know. I can't. It's crazy.
I'm guessing she finishes, you still got like a couple of pieces to place and then discover that you're missing a couple of pieces. And so like you suffered a time penalty. So you guys were 15 seconds apart. So that time penalty would have collapsed things a little bit, but I think Kelly still legitimately finished ahead of you.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
You seemed like this is some of the greatest video. If you haven't watched the video, you need to go watch Hannah's reaction to this because you seemed like you were having every emotion simultaneously. Like you were surprised and excited and everything. Like you can just watch it go. Like there's a good like 10 seconds where there's a roller coaster clearly going on in your head.
Yeah, I it's like hard for me to even watch back because like I'm like I don't know. It's even now talking about it, like it's hard for me to describe what the emotions were. I think I was like, am I gonna cry right now? Like, am I like, yeah. And then afterwards, I just sat back down, and it's funny because like some of the other angles that they showed afterwards, you can see me like sitting there at the table with a completely blank stare on my face.
I did notice that you're just staring off into the void. Like part of that is like, I imagine you're maybe like adrenaline crashing and you're processing a lot of things, but also like the camera is focused on, I think you were sitting with Tiffany Medeiros.
Yeah.
And so the camera is like watching her and you're like, I don't know what to do well.
Yeah.
So it did seem like there was a lot going on.
Yeah. I was trying to process everything, but yeah, that was super exciting. It's like definitely a cherished memory. I loved that puzzle. It was a great puzzle. I actually, that's another thing. I think that puzzle really speaks to me.
Tell us which puzzle that is.
Oh, it's called Home Sweet Home by Demelza Houghton. And it's like a scene of a bunch of cute little animals and their cute little houses and some trees and a bunch of other stuff. And I think it definitely played to my strengths because I tend to work on multiple things simultaneously, and I think I get faster through the course of a puzzle as I learn the image. And so if the image doesn't have a lot of detail to learn, then I can't really use that to my advantage. But if the image does have a lot of detail, it has a lot of texture variation and such, I feel like I might have an advantage in that scenario because as I gain that knowledge, I think I speed up quite a bit.
Something that I noticed in your Twitch streams, because I can just watch you, which is great, that I don't have the knowledge of if everybody does. But one of the things I see you referring to the box, like the image a fair amount, but in a way that is continuous. So it's not like you're stopping and looking at the box. Your hands more or less are continuing to move. You seem to be able to orient right on the part of the image you care about, like really understanding. And that all felt like really fluid in a way that it doesn't work for me. Because like when I'm moving to the box, I'm like, all right, where in this box am I supposed to be looking? So I'm curious as to whether that is just a natural habit of yours or something that you had to build. Like, and is that part of the adding fidelity to your mental image process?
I had to deliberately learn to look at the box. I had to do that because when I did puzzles casually, every time I would do a 500 piece puzzle, I would not use the box because, so that classic. It would last longer. Yeah, classic. And so I was pretty accustomed to not looking at the box. And early on in my like practice journey, it became clear that looking at the box was very helpful for me. So I had to deliberately unlearn that prior habit from casual puzzling where I would, I would primarily be looking at the pieces to try to understand the connection between them. But as soon as I looked at the box, it was like having the answer right away. Like there's no need cheating. Yeah, it really is. And so now it's definitely a big part of my puzzling. Like I use it a ton. I try to, like you said that it was fluid. I try to, if I'm putting in a piece or about to put in a piece and I know for sure that it's going to go there, then yeah, I'll try to use that window of time to look at the box if necessary. And I tend to go from the pile primarily as opposed to looking at like a hole in the puzzle and then searching the pile.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take my time to like look at the pile. Usually a piece will catch my eye and I'm like, yeah, I feel like I could find that, and then, you know, refer to the box. And usually over the course of a puzzle, I do that enough times that I've learned about enough of the elements on the puzzle, and that's when it starts to pay off. But I think, yeah, like I said, it pays off for certain styles and not as much for others.
Yeah, I feel like I saw maybe in an interview you did with the local news where you were talking about doing the easy things first because it gives you time to acclimate to the rest of the puzzle. And I sort of got that, but this makes a lot more sense given that, like, for your process in particular, you're really learning more about what is going on in the puzzle. You're, like I said earlier, you're increasing the fidelity of maybe your mental image around that. And so doing the easy things gives you that quick stand-up moment while you're doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some like this is a general strategy I sort of landed on like also early on, is that I try to allow myself to notice the things that I'm naturally noticing. So like I used to have a habit where I would kind of resist doing certain parts of the puzzle because I had an idea that they were going to be hard, or like I just didn't want to deal with it at that point. And I've tried to kind of get away from that habit. And if I see a piece and I naturally like it's naturally calling out to me, I try to let that happen and deal with it kind of in the moment, even if I'm primarily working on something else. And what ends up happening is then while I'm working on a section, I've also kind of put pieces just in other spots where they're going to end up going, just individual pieces. But for me, it helps me build up my, you know, internal representation of what's going on in the puzzle. And that's how I like it to be. Like it's harder for me to focus on one thing all the way through. Like I want to be able to contribute to multiple sections at once. It's kind of my style.
And that could look frenetic or disorganized, but for you, it's really about like you said, allowing yourself to do the things that are most prominent for you right now, which plays into developing the bigger picture of things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like, right. It could look chaotic, but I think it ends up being pretty methodical, at least at this point, because it's like been what I do, you know, the whole time.
I mean, seems like it's working okay.
So I'll probably stick with it.
There's one thing that I don't know if you have a perspective on this, given all of the things that were going on right at the very end of your individual's finals experience. But I just got finished talking to, in the episode that will come out before this, William Shandling, who's the lead volunteer lead judge, lead volunteer judge. I forget what the order of those things are. But one of the great things about your finish is that you can see where the judge's empathy really matters in terms of how the players exit an experience. Because he comes in,
totally.
You don't know what he's saying, but he's clearly saying nice things to you. He's engaged in your moment. He gives you a very sweet high five. Give me a little more insight into how judges help in that respect.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because shout out to William, because having someone at least to acknowledge you or like to receive your emotional response at the end of the puzzle, I think is so huge, because if he hadn't been there, I would have felt even more like awkward and like on the spot.
Right, because you got like, nobody else, none of your friends or family are allowed on the floor. You're not like, there's nobody you can connect with. And if you were first or second, you can't just lean over to the person next to you and like high five because they're busy.
Yeah. No, totally. And like, yeah, I was already so overwhelmed in that moment. And like, just to have something to, you know, focus some of the energy on, like, yeah, it gave me a high five, like just to just kind of absorb some of the like heat of the moment, I really think is important, because otherwise, like, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, you know, cheer, like put my hands in the air. Like, it just doesn't feel natural. So yeah, I really appreciated that he was there.
I do love in the Twitch streams that I have watched when you finish a puzzle where you feel really good about it. You're not the kind of person who has an explosive reaction to something. You don't get up and cheer, but you're like, let's go, in like the most like intense but quiet sort of way.
It's true, yeah. Yeah, it would feel super unnatural for me to like shout in my room, you know, like. But yeah, William, just to like see a smiling face when I finished really made a difference, for sure.
Anything else you want to talk about with nationals before we move on?
I mean, girls in STEM, I thought we did really great. I guess I don't know. I don't know if I have anything specific to say about girls in STEM, but I like that experience with them was really fun. Like, I got to spend all the free time with them.
I was gonna say, you had a posse in a way. Like you had a group of folks who you were sharing that experience with, which I imagine would be very different from your first team, where it was a bunch of friends who were going to do a casual thing. Like, this is much more like maybe your volleyball experience, where you guys have trained to do a thing and you're all in the thing together.
Yeah, it was a super helpful thing, actually, to have them, to be with them during the free time, now that I am thinking about it. Because if I had been alone, or if I didn't have that kind of structure, I guess, I would have really thought a lot more about the competition. But instead I could hang out with them and be kind of distracted in a way. And that, I think that actually really works for me, is to kind of just, you know, I don't want to dwell too much on the competition before it happens. I would rather just kind of show up and just be there in the moment, you know, when it's required. But they were like, we would just kind of walk around. We ended up doing an escape room because it was, you know, held with Awesome Con, and they had like a little escape room exhibit, and just like finding stuff to do in that interstitial time, I think was super useful.
I always think about teams table talk. And I imagine that girls in STEM, you guys, having met you guys and seen you guys a couple of different times, you don't come across as like a very serious table talk, sort of like when things are in flight. Is that true?
Yeah, like we're definitely strategizing, you know, we're talking about the puzzle, but I do think that there is some like, there's definitely like more lightness to it. I think humor can be a really useful coping strategy for competitions. Like, I truly do, because like in pairs and teams, sometimes just to cut down the tension a little bit, like, I don't know, just like make a little joke here and there, and it kind of, at least for me, it does a lot, because then I kind of am able to reset my emotional state a little bit, kind of like zoom out. Like, it's always helpful to retain some perspective and just think about the fact that we're just here doing a puzzle, you know, like we're here to have fun. And so that's something, like in pairs and teams especially, I find super useful, because I get to get some of that anxiety out and like get the lightness back a little bit.
Right. You've got people who can help you, not just with solving the puzzle, but with the meta part of getting a puzzle solved.
Yeah, exactly.
So after nationals, you next appear in my stats in Ohio?
Yeah. Origins.
Origins, that's right. I'm like, why Ohio? Okay, and then you were partnering with Kyle for the first time. Tell me a little bit about how you and Kyle got connected.
It's really fun, actually. Basically, the very first stream that Kyle saw of mine, he was just kind of chatting. I knew who he was already because, you know, I had watched a bunch of Karen videos, and I just knew who like a lot of speed puzzlers were. And I think he had asked, like, oh, just, you know, what's your name? Because I don't have my full name listed. And I told him, and he recognized my name from California States, because he had actually been at that competition. And it was funny because it just so happened that a couple weeks later, he was going to the 24-hour marathon in Orange County. And they had a team, but they needed one more person. And he asked me right there in my Twitch chat, do you want to come to this 24-hour marathon? And I was like, oh, like maybe. I looked into it and I ended up going, but that's how I met Kyle. And we decided to pair together for Worlds. I think pretty soon after Nationals, we decided to do that. And so we went to Origins, to compete, but also to get a chance to be together in person, do some pairs practice. It ended up being a ton of fun. There were like a bunch of kind of more experimental race formats. There were teams relays, there were pairs relays, there was a solo doubleheader. So it was a really great event.
At what point does Cobble Hill get into the mix with respect to you guys?
Yeah, so at Origins, we met Linda.
From Cobble Hill?
Because she was there, from Cobble Hill. She was there, at the booth. She was also creating some content for their social media, like filming the races. And so we just got to talking with her in between rounds. She is like so nice and wonderful. And it was really cool to talk to her because I had never really talked to anyone from a puzzle company before. And she clearly cares a lot about, the people that buy their puzzles and cares a lot about what type of things we want. We were talking about the images and what we look for in images. But we just, we had a lot of really pleasant conversations with her. And so after Origins, we ended up reaching out to her and it ended up working out for them to support us.
That's awesome. So you guys reached out to them.
Yeah. Just to see if they might be interested in that. And we told them that our pair's name would be the Stream Team. And we worked something out.
After Ohio, you end up in my house, Portland.
Yeah.
What made you and the team decide to go to Portland Jigsaw Masters?
I think it was, it was just not too far. And we just wanted another competition together. We knew we would do California States, but that wasn't until, later in the fall. And I was signed up for Worlds and Chloe and Sky were signed up for Worlds, but we had signed up, I think, Caitlin couldn't go, like we weren't going to team together at Worlds. So we just were looking for a chance to compete together. So we went to PJM. That's one of my favorite competitions I've been to for sure.
That's awesome. And you came away with a sweater.
I did. I got the cardigan. I didn't know. I think they introduced the cardigan at the event.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about that in advance. But then once they showed it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like I'd really love to have that cardigan. I didn't even want to think about how cool it was because I wanted it so bad.
You're not by a way. So sweaters, cardigans, they don't have a lot of meaning for me. But the number of times, so when it was introduced as a concept, I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. And, the goal was to be like sort of the golf masters where they give a jacket to the winner. And so this is like a version of that. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. But then the number of people who came up and went, I really want that sweater. I was like, dang, okay.
They're really onto something with that cardigan.
Yeah, my wife was like, she should be wearing the sweater during this interview. I want to see the sweater.
That's so funny. Yeah, I keep it like in the box still because it's so fancy and nice. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with it. Like I might maybe I'll hang it on the wall, like put it in a frame like you would for the golf masters jacket or whatever.
Yeah. I enjoyed that the
cool.
first of your live streams that I joined live.
Yes.
You were unboxing that. And I'm like, oh great. Perfect timing.
I know, I couldn't believe that. That's cool.
Yeah. Are you going this year, Portland Jigsaw Masters?
I think so. I don't know. Have they announced the dates?
They will have announced the dates by the time people hear this, but they're announcing them tomorrow. But it's August 14th through the 16th.
Great. Then I definitely plan to go. It's like funny. I'm like gonna need to find a job soon. So I don't know. I don't know where I'll be, which makes it hard to plan things. But
oh, sure.
I don't know what could stop me from going to PJM.
What did you like about Portland Jigsaw Master so much?
I think they made a really cool vibe. It's definitely different from most other competitions in a lot of ways. Like, they play music out loud. You get a really large table to yourself. The production value on like the stream is like incredible. I just liked that it felt a little more casual, or I don't know, a little more joyous than some of the other like big competitions can be. It was really cute. We did a race of 100-piece puzzle. We all got a 100-piece puzzle just for free. It was just for fun. And instead of having judges walk around and like see who finished, when you finished, you would just yell out. And I thought that was really cute. Like, it just has kind of like a fun community feel. I love Cobble Hill, and so the puzzles themselves were really great. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I definitely want to go back.
So, a year of traveling to Ohio and Portland, you add in Spain. Why not?
Yeah.
Give me sort of a condensed version of what your thoughts were going into that, and then maybe we can do a condensed version of how the actual experience went.
My thoughts going in, I felt like there were a lot of fast people.
Arguably the fastest in the world.
Arguably the fastest in the world. So I made sure not to have any specific expectations on placement. Like, I didn't want to even really look at the participant list to even get a sense of all the people that, that were faster than me. And so, like, I just didn't want to have any expectations going in. I think I managed that pretty well.
So coming in, you were not particularly worried about panic. You're not really worried about proving that you can be on this stage with these people. You were just like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah, I was definitely less worried about proving anything. I was still a little worried about panic, especially in the individual finals, because it just felt like I couldn't predict how I would feel. Like, it was going to be out of my control. But I did feel good in the sense that, yeah, I didn't feel like I had to prove myself at that point.
So you come into individuals Heat B, you get a postcard puzzle.
Yes. The first speed puzzle I've ever done then became my prelim
Exactly.
puzzle.
So in a weird sort of way, we've come full circle. So you ended up fifth in that round, which on a world stage, your first seems great, but it's also where Victor just destroyed the record on that. So how was that whole like first round experience for you?
Yeah, going in, I was definitely really worried about making the choice. And then as soon as I saw the puzzles, it was very obvious what choice I would have to make. And to me, especially with that puzzle, I didn't care really where I landed, because so many people have done that puzzle so many times, and I would have no way of knowing like how many times they've done it. And I knew Victor was in my round. I knew he would do it extremely fast. So that was also not a surprise. So it was honestly it was pretty chill after I saw that it was the postcard.
You made it through the first round, you made it through the semifinals into the final round. Now there's opportunity for actual pressure, because you're like the first couple of rounds, you can be like, well, as long as I make it past a certain amount, I sort of move on. Did this feel any different?
It did, and in kind of a great way. I just kind of happened to be in like a really good headspace. And I remember when I was walking to my table, I was kind of just trying to focus on how grateful I felt to be in that moment. I saw so many of the people that I look up to like around me, and they looked, everyone looked, of course, nervous, but like excited. And I was just really happy to be taking part in that. So I felt really good during that puzzle. Like, I just felt already fulfilled. Like I don't know, it sounds like so cheesy, but like I just wanted to enjoy it as much as I could. And as long as I felt like I was enjoying myself, I was kind of freed from the weight of like any expectations I could have had.
Yeah, you ended up finishing 13th, the first American.
Mm-hmm.
In like everybody above you is a heavy hitter. Many of the people below you are heavy hitters. So like your 13th is an amazing place to be for somebody who has been puzzling for what, a year, you know, a little more.
Mm-hmm.
It is an interesting contrast to your individual finals versus your at Worlds versus Nationals, because Nationals was a whole thing. Like you were second, maybe unexpectedly so, but like in Worlds, you already seemed much more poised and you just looked extremely pleased. You're like, yeah, that went really well. So it's sort of fun to watch those back to back, because it may not be the story, but it does feel like, you know, a sort of like this is the evolution of Hannah sort of story.
Yeah, totally. I hope I can keep it going, but yeah, I felt like everything worked out how it was supposed to, so I have no regrets.
Any other highlights at Worlds?
Ooh. Well, this is not anything that I did, but watching Emma Williamson win her semifinal was like one of my favorite moments I've had in puzzling. It was so exciting.
Yeah. We were rooting for her off to the side and sort of like aghast, because we were like, I think she may do really well. She may do really well. Yeah. She seems like she's doing a great job. Oh my God, she may win this thing.
We were watching, because we were all sitting outside watching on the live stream, and then eventually we were like, should we go inside? Like, this is like we all made our way inside and got to like be in the actual dome when she won. It was so awesome.
There were a lot of things going on at Worlds this year that made it potentially challenging. Any things that stand out on that front?
Probably nothing that hasn't been said, but yeah, it was really hot. And
it was a little warm, yeah.
It was super hot. We were in the teams round where the roof was leaking, and funnily enough, like I think because of that, like we didn't even notice because we were competing, but that was really dramatic to find that out after.
Yeah, I love that a lot of people didn't notice the power went out because they were competing. People didn't notice the roof was leaking because they were competing. Like it really tells you the focus that a lot of folks have when they're competing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Then after Worlds, California State comes up again.
Mm-hmm.
Second again. I picture this as sort of the end in a way of your whirlwind year. Like it kicked off with the California event where you got second. It ends with an event where you did just as well, behind only Alice Rowe, which if you're going to be behind somebody, that's a good person to be behind.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it.
Did you feel was it at all like a coming home sort of moment to go to that competition again?
Yes, I was really excited because now I got to go to the same event, but I knew so many more people, and that was a really fun feeling. The race itself is probably the worst I've felt about an individual race, because I had a little mishap at the beginning. So it was a Speedmaster, and I love the Speedmasters. I think they're really fun. But one thing that I guess they've done is they made the bag a little thinner.
I see where this is going.
And I had not done one brand new at that point, so I had never opened the bag myself. And it's funny because my teammates on Girls in Step had warned me, like, do not use that much force when you open the bag. But in the heat of the moment, I used clearly too much force, and the bag kind of exploded everywhere. There were pieces like all over the floor. I had to kind of crawl around for like 15 seconds, pick up all the pieces, and it was a valuable lesson, but I kind of lost my composure.
I was going to ask, does that mess with your mental game?
Yeah, I was really not mentally prepared for that. And now I've learned from that experience, because from an actual time loss standpoint, it was only like 15 seconds maybe. But because of that, I was like embarrassed. I was like, oh, this is not going how I imagined. and my family was there. I'm like, oh, my family just saw me drop the pieces everywhere. And so it kind of derailed me for a little while. And so now I've learned, if something like that happens again, I can take comfort in the fact that the actual time lost is not very much. And the best possible thing to do is to move forward as if, nothing has happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a learning experience.
Well, it must have felt
sure.
okay it must have felt good that you still finished second, because that takes the sting out, I have to imagine.
A little, yeah. I think the nice thing is, like, really I think even if that hadn't happened, I think I still would have gotten second. So, I can like take comfort in that fact. But I was just sad that I didn't have the mental experience that I was hoping. I think sure. that was the main disappointment.
Yeah, because to your point about finishing second, Alice crushed that puzzle like Andrea crushed the puzzle the year before. Yeah. So like there was a fair amount of distance there that you would have had to have
the pattern, the cycle repeated, basically.
All right, let's do a quick looking ahead. So Nationals is coming up soon. Are you doing any preparation for Nationals? Are you still with Girls in STEM? What's going on with you in Nationals?
Yeah, I'm with Girls in STEM. I'm pairing with Caitlin. I'm really, really excited. And I'm still doing a lot of solo practice. I pretty much now only speed puzzle when I'm streaming, which is kind of new. So on my, I guess, off days, I'm basically only doing casual puzzling. I still do a puzzle like every day, but
let's not be ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Like I couldn't even imagine. But yeah, I think I'm doing fewer total speed puzzles this time around. I think the paranoia that I described earlier is mostly gone. I'm not as worried about the stability of the skill itself. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping I can get this done in time, but I'm trying to embroider a puzzle jacket.
Oh, that's super cool.
Hopefully have that ready.
I did notice the puzzle piece embroidered on your pants last year. So
yeah,
you're gonna take that and expand it out.
Make a full puzzle outfit, hopefully one day.
I do have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned that the last year's podcast where we were talking about Nationals, that you'd heard where we were talking about you being placed. How do you feel about conversations like that when you are a competitor, like having other people talk about where you might land?
I definitely understand why you do them. It certainly does affect me at least a little bit to know that I've been speculated to land in a certain position. But I take it as part of the entire experience. I think it's like natural that people would want to make speculations like that. And so for me, it's kind of part of the challenge I've described of maintaining like a strong mental foundation. And same with going into Worlds. Like I think there was some prediction, and I try my best to, listen to it. I would rather know than not know. And I try to just take it as like an accomplishment in itself that I, have been doing something in the past that led someone to that conclusion. And after that, I try to push it out of my mind. And that's basically been my policy.
Do you feel like podcasting aside, there are expectations on you coming into Nationals this year?
Yes, I think so. And yeah, again, I think my perspective is that like it's natural that would happen. And of course I know all these fast people, and I'm like hoping and thinking they're going to do great too. And I think in general, people want you to succeed. And I try to think about that more than like any perceived like disappointment if I, didn't place as high or something.
Let's go to the speed round. you familiar with the speed round?
Okay. I am.
All right. You ready for this? Did you practice?
No, I didn't. But
All right.
But I have some ideas.
There are only right answers. Gradients, patterns, or fur?
Patterns.
Patterns. A few people choose fur. Illustrations or photo?
Illustrations.
Busy or landscape?
Busy.
Round or square?
Square.
Wood or cardboard?
Wood. No. Cardboard.
Have you done a lot of wood puzzles?
No, it's funny. It's definitely not wood. I don't know why I said wood.
I mean, cardboard's wood-based.
In fact, I'm like actively bad at wood puzzles. Maybe I got like so spooked that you even said it. That's why I said it.
Individuals, pairs, or teams?
I gotta go teams.
Ribbon cut or random cut?
Ribbon cut.
300, 500, or 1,000?
500.
Do you have a current favorite brand?
Can I say multiple?
Cheater. Let's hear it.
Okay. For casual, I've been loving Spaghetti Tree. They have really fun, unique cuts. And also Villager, especially their 1000s. The pieces feel amazing. For speed, the classics, Cobble Hill and Ravensburger are my favorite, I think.
Do you have a favorite puzzle?
Can I break the rules again and say two?
I'm not in charge of this anymore.
My reasoning is that I gave short answers to the previous one. So, I've budgeted enough time for this one.
All right. What you got?
Okay. First is Bird Bath. It's a puzzle from New York Puzzle Company. It's an illustration of a bird in an actual bathtub. And it's one of the first puzzles I deliberately bought for myself after such a long time of only going to the puzzle library. And then my other one is one I just did recently. It's from the brand Heye, like Heye. It's an 1,000-piece puzzle of a painting called Sun by Rosina, I think Wachtmeister is her name. It's a painting of 4 cats and a sun above them. And it's very special to me because I had that painting hanging in my childhood bedroom the whole time I was growing up. And so
not in puzzle
form. Not in puzzle form. And so now I have it in puzzle form and I can hang it up in my bedroom now. And it's the most perfect full circle puzzle moment for me.
That's amazing. Is this the only puzzle that you've made into wall art?
So I have Bird Bath also as wall art.
All
that's
right.
That's why they both got included.
All right, fair enough. Where can people find more of you?
My username is Hannah K Puzzle on everything. The K is spelled out like Kay. I guess I'm only on Instagram and Twitch. But yeah, if anyone wants to come hang out in the stream, I would love to have you.
Hannah Doyle, thanks for joining me on this. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. It was really fun.
Thanks for listening to Peace Talks. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at peace_talks, and you can send email to peacetalkscast@gmail.com.